Well, it's a study. I mean, you might come in early on and it's sad story of bad fostering and good outcome rescue. Disease. Longing, perhaps for mum, or not even knowing what you're longing for. Might be the unknowing of being in primary school. As if you're faced with a mystery and you can't. It's all strange. It's not, I want to be at home with mum. Just want to be at home with mum. Might be school. Being oppressed, bullied by staff and older students, other students. And being faced with the incomprehensible, like English. What a stupid system of spelling, and I'm supposed to learn it. It's just not reasonable. Of course it isn't. And then the delight of the freedom of tech college. And I'm studying Plato. And he's trying to understand, and I'm understanding with him. Wow. This is for me. Nothing to do with passing my exams. But I can pass my exams because I've become a capable student. But I'm applying it to Plato because that's what counts. So I joined the Humanist Society, of course. Where else should I be? I love people. I'm concerned about people. Plato was. Spent all his time teaching. I'm Plato coming into the room, aren't I? In my mind, that's what I want to be. Is there a Plato here I can converse with and reason with? And you know, the chairman of the Southend-on-Sea Humanist Society says to me, well, you are a humanist, but well, I'm not actually. Really? This was kind of a bit of a surprise to me. Goodness, you'd have thought chairman of the Humanist Society would have been humanist. I've forgotten what he said he was, but anyway, that's what he was. Or you might relate to the guy at university who Marshall is tying him up in knots, the staff. I'm Jesus in the temple, aren't I? The secular equivalent. I'm in the uni. And they can't quite cope with this guy. They know he's capable, but oh my goodness, he's a menace. I mean, do we love him or do we get rid of him? And then perhaps you transform. Perhaps you're, perhaps you're transformed by his transformation, that he runs out of cash and he wants just to do something good. Not impressive in the world. I don't want to be an economist to the World Bank. I want to be a trainee social worker locally in Clacton, seaside town. And I go out into a street I've got 3 clients in the same street, and life's hell for each one. And I realise the most innocent street behind those doors, so many of them are in chaos and great need and suffering. My humanist ideals come to the fullness of life in me. I'm dedicated, and perhaps you respond to that part of the story. It's a story that I was living out. I didn't realise I was writing it in my history or historicity now. Of course, it's no doubt got modified. But you relate to the would-be saint in an unsaintly world, where sainthood should be persecuted. So he rescues one of the rescuers, Jean, my first wife. I'm going to love her, that's all there is to it. I'm going to be loyal. What she needs, she's not going to be an old maid. She's going to have what perhaps she needs in her heart. She's all I need. I don't need some fantastic Hollywood beauty like my mum. I don't need wealth like my dad. I've got it. I love. Wow. That's before he becomes Christian, of course. There's no way he'd have become Christian if that hadn't happened to him. I mean, be reasonable. I'm Plato, aren't I? I don't mean Plato isn't, in some sense, the great-grandfather of Christianity. It just means that his grandsons are a bit more advanced than he was in a spiritual context, or in that sort of conceived of dimension. Do you pick up something of what I'm saying? What I'm meaning. We pick up meaning, don't we? It's not quite what he said, but it's what you picked up. And you may go away feeling as if you've received a revelation, an insight, which is an ascendance, a sort of transformation. So we relate to different parts of the story. I could do 10,000 recordings. You would relate to some part, some level, some point in them. Perhaps at different times in your life you'd relate to different points in the story. And it is a story. It's as I conceive of my past now. And you may think, oh yeah, incredibly egocentric too. I mean, if anyone's lost, Marshall, it's you. But I don't think in terms of being lost. I think in terms of your heavenly dad's there with every detail of your life. Loves you as I can't conceive of loving, way beyond. If we're good parents or strive to be, what does he achieve to be? Utterly wonderful. How could you not love him for it? And if he doesn't exist, I've lost nothing. But if he does exist, I have everything. And I might point out my life is unbelievably more happy and and wonderful, trusting that he does exist. The proof of the pudding's in the eating. Taste and see. Is your life transformed wonderfully when you choose to behave as if God exists and is your heavenly Dad? Loves you, cares for you, cares for all that he's made. He's a super person. Of persons. Of persons. Love you, Dad. Thank you, Dad. And I'm much recording as I go. I mean, a bird just hit the window. And I'm distracted because I'm concerned for the bird. And you would have been too. Oh, I hope he's all right. That's your typical response. Shows who you are. Don't want to make you heady, but you're a lovely person. Your natural empathy and concern goes out to this creature. You have a conception of he has problems and needs that you can relate to, you empathize with. Wow, this is what being human is and person. The very essence of the spiritual. It's nothing to do with logic and reason, it's to do with I've been there in a sense, or I can, in my imagination, I'm troubled at his problem of who he is as I see him. And my heart goes out to him. I hope he's all right. Well, he flew away, and if he's not, there's not much I can do about him, poor chap. But I'm not thinking that way. I'm trusting that he's had a bit of a knock, but he's all right. Might sit on the branch for a while and try and recover. Let the shock pass. Bless him. Do you see how love goes out to him? People are lovely. When they're not harassed by their own needs, they're spontaneously good and friendly and kind and loving until they get defensive and frightened and, spit fire and venom like my current last wife. I'm not the angel that you might be wistfully wondering if I am. To her, I'm this demon. Is everything wrong? And I'm not going into it. It's not worth it. I don't. Whatsoever's good and lovely, think on these things. I commend that rule to you, as you know. Let me pause a second. Well, it's 7:45 in the morning. What is it? Tuesday, here in New Zealand, of the date of this recording, and laying in bed, talking to you. I'm tired now, but not tired enough to go to sleep because it's too late in the morning to sleep. I'm going to get up and I'm going to have some porridge, because although it's only just the first couple of days of autumn, it's been raining quite a lot all of yesterday, and it's not always sunny in New Zealand, I might point out. And the temperature's dropped quite a bit. So I'm going to have porridge, I'm going to warm up and get into the day. Bless your day. Isn't it funny? I can bless your day from here, at this date, into your presence, in your now. Isn't it an amazing technology? I'm sorry you can't bless me back, but perhaps you can. You see, with God, hey, get this picture of time that I only received this past few months or something. We're in the center of a wheel, And we can look at any point of time on the circumference, which is circular. A lot of religions like the notion of the circular repeating cycles, you know. I can think into any point on the circumference. In other words, I can revisit my winged pharaoh lady as pharaoh, 3000 BC. Now, understand her conception of time, whether it was then or just a few years ago when she wrote the book, or the author wrote the book anyway, whatever you see it as. And I can experience it now. Do you realize the insight to the spiritual, that this may be, and I do mean may, we're in uncertainty always, as I see it, but that time may be of the essence of things here in this universe, but not in the spiritual. I can be blessed by this lady's life, sure, by some mythical recording of it in the book of the lady, Joan Grant, her name, the winged pharaoh. And perhaps she is a reincarnation of the lady she's talking about. She talks in the first person throughout the book. And some authors do, of course, because they want to add a realism to it. But it certainly does. And if she's just a good author, my goodness, is she a good author? I think it's just as likely in my mind she's an incarnation of, or in a medium sense she's able to visit. Well, I don't know. But I'm incredibly impressed by what I pick up of what she says at times. I don't mean I'm worshipping the book. In fact, I've stopped reading it. I haven't read it for a few weeks now. Yeah. You see, we're looking for that which is helpful as we understand it. And we find we've gone down the wrong road, and we do our best to get back on track. And sometimes people come along and help us in this regard. How lovely. What a blessing. And that's what Scripture's meant to do. And ideally, what a good religion's meant to do too. In fact, may I say, contrary to the general impression and drift, I think that's the inclination of much of our personhood and culture and society. It wants to bless and help and be a safeguard and a goodness. How lovely. And if it doesn't, well, I'm trusting that God is overruling, that he manages every detail. Why? Because I find that trusting such is such a blessing, is such a happiness, peace, and assurance, and gives a fullness of life that I don't have otherwise, here and now, quite apart from treasure in heaven, the future, or whatever. It's a no-brainer. By trusting, I gain everything. By not trusting, I have chaos. I'll go for the trust, thank you. Because I'm a genius? No. Because I'm attempting to be rational. Thank you, Dad. You see, and I think this is the point, that being a person is wonderful. There are many persons that, I've just put a spider out because, well, one, I don't really want to live with him on my ceiling, but also There's no life here, there's no food, there's no environment that's natural to him, so I put him out into nature. You could say I've abandoned him, but I can't do anything better for him, you know. Now this desire to help and to bless that which is around us is not just unique to Marshall. I'm quite sure there's many people that just kind. I don't want to be self-aggrandizing, but I do mean it. Kindness is the very essence of what I truly value about God. It's not his power. His power would be frightening if he wasn't kind and loving to us. And that's what you have in a Hebrew God in many ways. Fearful, frightening, someone to be hidden from, as in the Old Testament of the Bible. Given your depraved state. Look, if we make robots to actually have kindness, concern for others, empathy, feelings, a heart, values, well, good luck to you. It's just what you expect children of God to do. To create children of God. Give birth to. I suspect you might make a few mistakes to begin with. Oh dear, I hope you survive your mistakes. By the grace of God you will. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.